to fulfill that critical role of being a voice in the for the public in this process. Your representation matters, and we are here to listen to your feedback as staff outlines our budget proposal. You'll receive brief reports from each of our directors and then have an opportunity to discuss each departmental budget. Before we jump in, I'd like to thank Jared Isaacson, our finance director, and Olivia Sujimura, our accounting and budget manager, and everyone else in finance for their work to prepare us for this evening. We've prepared a balanced budget that delivers on our district values and priorities. As each director walks through their department budgets tonight, we've asked them to highlight how their staff's work helps us reach our goals. Before we jump in, though, I want to draw your attention to a few points. First, the proposed budget before you represents our second operational year of the local option levy. I know you're thinking what you're thinking. We just passed that levy just under a year ago in May of 2024, but the levy went into effect starting that July and was collected as part of the November property tax collection. So yes, the proposed budget in front of you tonight is in fact the second year of our local option levy. The passage of this levy was critical for our THPRD as it allowed us to maintain service levels, which funds close to 20% of our annual operating budget and provides funding to update our legacy registration system. And even though there's a tremendous amount of uncertainty on a national stage in terms of the changes in federal funding and how those changes impact state and local governments, the fact that THPRD is not reliant on federal funding certainly is a beneficial thing for the district at this time. So while we continue to watch how political climates are affecting state, county, and other local government revenue streams from a big picture perspective, I'm cautiously optimistic about the district's position. As you heard in our mid-year budget meeting, we're focused on some very big picture items for the future. We're working toward a transition of our administrative, operational, and maintenance functions into a new building located next to the HMT campus. This new site will allow us to consolidate services, unite our teams, and set us up well to manage the future growth of the district. It also allows us to turn more of the HMT complex over to the public for their use. We're also preparing the district's replacement to the 2008 bond measure. We're looking ahead to the district's needs for the next 20 years, prioritizing taking care of what we have already built, ensuring that we're on top of needed safety and accessibility repairs, ensuring our parks and facilities are well cared for and in good shape for the next 20 plus years. We are also working to diversify our revenue streams as called for in the district's strategic plan and in the district's budget priorities. Tonight, you'll hear about the district's investment in a new scholarship program and a new strategic partnership we're developing to help us cultivate long-term relationships with local businesses and corporate sponsors to support marketing sponsorships on district property. We have an ambitious plan to build a successful sponsorship program with a goal of returning more than $500,000 in annual investment into the district within 5 years. Our new sponsorship administrator will continue her Oregon Recreation and Parks Association Leadership Academy capstone project to work with us in this new role for the district, and we're excited to see what she is able to deliver this year. You'll also be hearing from Julie and Sabrina later this evening about additions we're making in the recreation division. We're expanding our programming staff to continue to grow programs and hours at 4 of our facilities as we continue in the long build back from the pandemic. So while our overall budget is modest and measured, tonight's budget is optimistic and positions the district well to deliver on the board's goals and fiscal priorities. With that, I'll turn it over to Jared.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So the district has gone through a comprehensive planning process to guide our actions and our plans. These documents and processes are discussed within the proposed budget, and for quite a few of them, staff actually provide periodic updates to the board. Ultimately, the district values and board priorities have guided staff in the creation of the proposed budget, which we will be discussing this evening. Here we are viewing our 5-year projection, which has been built conservatively. And by that, I mean that the resources are projected with minimal increases and the expenditures are projected on the high side for each year. This projection also assumes that the district is fully staffed, fully operational, offering all programs and completing all capital projects each year. Other assumptions in this projection include a 3 to 3.3% annual increase in resources, an initial 6% increase in personnel services for fiscal year 27, and then 5% for fiscal year 28 and beyond. An initial 7% increase in materials and services for fiscal year 27, and then a 6% for fiscal year 28 and beyond. The projection also includes 3 million in capital outlay per year and contingency falling between 3.5 million and 2 million over the years. Now, the district board policy states that our reserve balance should not fall below 10%. And if we look, if I can get it to work, here we go. If we look at this reserve requirement line, this is our 10% of operational expenses each year. Now, throughout this projection, we are able to maintain a reserve balance in excess of that 10% requirement, which is a good thing. Another thing to note at the bottom, we can see that with these assumptions, our reserve for future years balance is able to grow up to 15 million. Where to come back? There it is. Up to 15 million in fiscal year 29, and the district would not start utilizing these funds until fiscal year 31. And this was that money that we set aside each year with the addition of our levy. We set it aside in the beginning to use in later years in the levy to extend our 50-cent levy rate up to 10 years before we ask for any kind of an increase from voters. The proposed general fund budget is 124.5 million. This represents a 14.7% increase from the current year adopted budget. Now, that's also a 4% decrease from the amended budget. The board did amend the budget for 2 grants that were received after the start of the fiscal year, as well as for the sale and purchase of a district facility, which will be discussed later this evening. And if you are curious about that amendment, it is located on page SD6 in the end of the budget document. I looked it up. I looked it up. However, the increase from this year's adopted budget is attributable to increases in property taxes, carry forward of grant and capital funds, and an increased cash carry forward. The total resources for the proposed budget are just over 124.5 million. The largest source in the general fund is the property tax revenue, comprising 47% of the proposed budget, totaling almost $58.1 million. The next largest source is our carry forward from the current year, which is projected to be 35.9 million, making up an additional 33% of the budget. Now, the program fees and charges are projected to be almost 11.8 million, or 9% of the budgeted resources. The remaining resources of the general fund include grants and sponsorships, revenue at 6%, and other revenues at 5%. When looking at the general fund expenditure, this summary provides it by division within the proposed budget. And the appropriations include 1% for the board of directors, 14% for administration, 15% for parks and services, 27% for recreation services, 16% for capital projects, and the remainder 27% making up ending fund balance, contingency, and reserve for the future expenditure. We will be reviewing each of these divisions as we proceed in the upcoming slides. With that, I would like to take a pause and see if there's anything that you would like to discuss at this point? John? Mhm. See. Come on. Sure, sure. So, in particular, Aisha mentioned in from Doug's talking points our sponsorship program that we are looking to expand. To give you a bit of sense of how large that is, program fees and charges at 9% is 11.8 million. Aisha's talking or Doug's talking points mentioned 500,000. So we are excited about this opportunity. Uh, it is not going to be a large chunk of resources in comparison to resources as a whole. Um, we are, yes, Holly, please.
on our fields and in our facilities. And we want to make sure that we're catching up with our peers and monetizing those sponsorship opportunities to offset some of those expenses and to allow us to have a more measured growth to the increases in property tax and fees for services. So I don't think we'll ever, in our stretch to diversify our revenue opportunities, we're never going to get two bites of the apple that are as big as those two that we're so used to. But it is important that we add to our toolbox so that we can slow down the clip of increases for everyone else, so that we can look for opportunities to expand financial aid and our access for all initiatives and make sure that we're keeping the park district within reach for everyone. You're welcome.
I just wanted to note, so, oh, sorry, Jessica may be trying to say this as well. Normally the ambient sound picks up really well in here, and I think that's not happening tonight. So if you have a question, if you could please just press the button, get the green light and go for it. That's going to be helpful for all of our folks that are listening online. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, I have exactly the same observation about diversification. Jerry, could you go back to slide number 5, please? Um, one more slide. Yeah. So if you look at here, on the property tax line, it seems that we assume the local tax levy will continue up to 2028. So is it like a safe assumption?
So,
or-
okay. So the levy is a 5-year levy. And this year being the first year, the 5th year, I believe, is
2028.
yeah,
Yeah.
28. And so we are assuming a renewal at the 50 cents.
Do you think it's a safe assumption that it will be renewed?
Yes. from the experience of other agencies that have a local option levy, one of the biggest hurdles is getting the levy. Once you get it, it's fairly easy to maintain. As long as you're not asking for extreme increases every time you go out for a renewal.
Thank you.
Yep. Hearing nothing else, we will move on to the Board of Directors. The proposed board appropriations are just over $490,000 for the coming year. Now, these dollars are set aside to cover the costs for legal and audit services for the district, district memberships, and training costs for board members. Then moving on to administration. Administration includes appropriations for the Office of the General Manager, Communications, Human Resources, and Finance. The proposed budget for administration totals $17.4 million. And in particular, the Office of the General Manager includes funding to further the district values and budget priorities, support each department's efforts, and continue to implement the Vision Action Plan. When looking at each of the divisions within administration, the appropriations are split 51% to communications, 23% to finance, 22% to human resources, and 4% to the Office of the General Manager. And with that, I will turn it over to Holly to discuss communications.
Okay, I hit my button. Okay, good evening. I'm Holly Thompson, your communications director. I serve as the director of the division, and we have 4 different programs within our division. The first one that we'll talk about is the communications department. We do not have a manager in the communications department, so I am also your communications department manager. So I'm switching hats right now. This is our staff that works on graphic design, digital engagement, and putting on community events. We work on supporting district-wide public engagement efforts. We customize outreach plans for staff working on internal community engagement. And we focus our work on equity and our community vision values in doing our outreach work. Our work is guided by the district values, and we are constantly trying to figure out how to find missing voices and get them more involved in Park and Rec. This past year, we are on track to coordinate the interpretation and translation of more than 300 pieces of information. That should actually be translation, not interpretation. Sorry about that. For district-wide activities, that 82% of that being in Spanish, but we have also been translating into Arabic, simplified and traditional Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, Japanese, Somali, Russian, Pashto, Farsi, and Dari. This is all based on the needs of the community. And so we tailor that based on the different things that we're working on. We work on over 1,100 work orders every year for the entire district. And a work order can have up to 15, sometimes even more deliverables underneath that. So when I say we do 1,100 work orders in a year, averaging about 92 a month, then imagine all the subparts underneath that team is working on. We are the lead on registration marketing, working with the rec division to come up with the new summer mini camp guide, which has been very popular the last couple of years. Our events team in the communications department has led and supported 90 community events this year, over a third of which were culturally specific and co-produced with community-based organizations. These events were attended by more than 39,000 people annually. We also design events to support the outreach needs of design development, planning, and maintenance for their requirements for public involvement on various projects. One thing I want to highlight in this budget is we are asking for a new position for the events team. This is based on converting several of our part-time positions and leveraging the dollars from our existing part-time position working in this work already, as well as a small amount of funding anticipated from that sponsorship program. So we're only expecting about 6,000 in revenue from the sponsorship program. The rest of it is coming from leverage of converting part-time positions to this one full-time. I do want to note, if you remember our events team pre-COVID, we had a lot more part-time staff. We found coming out of COVID, it was really hard to fill those part-time positions. We kept thinking it'd get easier year over year. It just hasn't been easier. The other thing that's happened is that summer events team has really transitioned to a year-round events team. And you know that we're putting on events and we're supporting district-wide events all year long. So the upgraded position, using mostly leverage, a small amount of that sponsorship revenue, will enhance and expand our technical and logistical support for year-round events, and it will help us continue to offer these events. And a sample of some of the year-round events that we do now are like the Vietnamese Lunar New Year, the Holy events, the Eid events, and so much more, like our Halloween events, Cedar Mill Cider Fest, Sempasuchi, Letters to Santa, Kwanzaa, and more. So really year-round, need year-round support. On the next slide, we'll focus on the Equity and Engagement Department within the Communications Division. Their focus is on ensuring that the district is strengthening our work with community-based organizations, partners in the community to better serve traditionally underrepresented communities. This team also oversees our financial aid program, cultural inclusion, the volunteer program, and supports generic community engagement. The program continues to grow both in utilization and in partnerships. Staff are currently collaborating with other government agencies, culturally specific partners, and CBOs to share financial aid information and train staff on our programs. Right now, our Centro de Bienvenida, which just finished up supporting summer registration, has been helping over 550 households pretty consistently, with 139 in summer. Our multilingual services connected with Centro de Bienvenida continue to grow, with families served in Spanish, Arabic, Russian, Farsi, and Dari. Our partner organizations that are joining us at Centro and handing out public information, particularly around access to healthcare, knowing your rights, and more, is continuing to grow. And this year we expanded Centro de Bienvenida to work with Julie's team and Inclusion Services to provide one-on-one support for people experiencing disabilities and to help those families with the registration process. And we've also continued to grow our Centro at Schools program, continuing to collaborate with family liaisons, teachers, and principals from Title I schools to determine the best times and locations for school visits to work with those families and help them with that concierge sign-up process. Our volunteer program, which you heard a lot about at this month's board meeting, is continuing to grow with 198 volunteer events, 28,000 hours of service, bringing in a value of just short of $1 million in volunteer time on an annual basis to the district. And of course, who can forget our volunteer champions that we just honored in this room this month? There were not a dry eye, I think, particularly for Basil, maybe for Margaret. There was a lot of tears. It was pretty cute. Our equity and engagement staff have remained active in the community by attending partner-led events, school meetings, and other outreach opportunities. They're projecting to be at more than 220 various community events and activities over this next year, and helping support co-produced events put on throughout the district as well. So very busy. Our next program in the communications division is safety services, led by Mark Pierce, hiding in the corner over there. Safety Services continues to embrace the district's community vision by keeping our spaces safe, accessible, and welcoming. The leadership sets high standards for community collaboration on education over enforcement and staff accountability. This philosophy keeps the team well grounded in the district's core values. I'm incredibly proud of both their work in responding to safety issues in our facilities, parks, and outdoor spaces, and their continuing focus to elevate our participation in regional emergency management work. Mark is very modest. I can tell you he's become quite the go-to guy on emergency management stuff in the county. And because of his leadership and participation in that natural hazard mitigation plan, that helped us be successful in that $1 million grant that we received to help with some space conditioning and other improvements in our buildings. So we're continuing our work on emergency management. We're continuing our active sheltering and partnering with the city of Beaverton and Washington County in collaboration with local community partners. We are in the process of siting additional emergency supply boxes on district property that were awarded to the Oregon Chinese Coalition recently. Safety Services also continues the buddy system for responding and over 7,000 self-initiated positive community contacts. Again, I want to thank the board of directors and the budget committee. That is only a 2-year-old thing to have a buddy system, and just keep that in mind that with 120 parks, 70 miles of trails, all of our open facilities, all of our acres of natural land, we have 2 people in Safety Services to respond at all times throughout the organization. And there are calls that it takes 2 of them to respond to. We have completed a 5-year department needs assessment, which will guide our future budget priorities for the department. And we've also completed camera system upgrades and replacements at the LC Stir Center and the new permanent restroom facilities. Our final department that I want to talk about in the communications division is information technology. We are finally relabeling it. It used to be IS. I don't know why. It's IT, people, IT. It just rolls off the tongue better. So our last department is the IT department. They are a small and mighty team. And honestly, I think they're kind of the most interesting one right now. I'm sorry, everybody else, but it's because they're going through a major restructuring. So we've just posted the position for the IT manager, and we will be reclassifying and creating 2 lead positions underneath there, 2 supervisor positions. And, these employees do more than keep our technology going and keeping the lights going. They're really the team that enables the way we all do our work in a modern world. And we're catching up on, reaching the modern world. So we've got a lot of changes. We completed the IT assessment this year. It's given us a wonderful blueprint, a wonderful roadmap. It's got way more in it than we can get done early, but we know what we need to focus on. And we're beginning with the restructure to get the right people in the right place and give them the right assignments to get going. This year, you'll see us form a technology advisory group. We have a lot of work in crafting policies and procedures and putting more stringent kind of regulation around how we regulate our IT services. And we look forward to jumping into all of that work this year. It's going to be pretty exciting. We're also moving our Tyler enterprise process from implementation into ongoing production support. So we talked about this recently. We're moving past implementing it and more, okay, we've done this now for a year. We remember how to do it. We've transitioned to muscle memory and it's working great. We're knee deep in website replacement, and we'll have that done by December of this year. And we're beginning the project planning and requirements for our registration system replacement, which will be done before we go out for a levy renewal. I promise you that. So another big focus of this team this year will be the move to the new facility, which will allow us to build a proper data center and a proper server room to keep all of our technology infrastructure safe. And when we get that done, on that IT assessment, we're going to have a lot of boxes checked. I'm going to be really happy. So IT is a big focus this year for the communications division, and we look forward to a busy year. And with that, I'll turn it over to Steve to talk about HR.
Thank you, Holly. I'm Steve Sutton. I'm the Director of Human Resources for the district, and I'm here to talk to you tonight about our HR division. And in our division, we split into 2 separate programs. I'll talk about what we call human resources first. And essentially, human resources is a small but mighty group of employees who support the staff at THPRD so that they can provide the great services to the community that we're all here to support. that's made up of several different kinds of professionals. It's kind of a diverse array of work that gets produced by this team. Employee relations and labor relations is a really important part of what we do. We also provide full service recruitment for full-time employees, and we support the massive effort every year at THPRD, which is seasonal and part-time recruitments and selection throughout the year. We have a training and professional development apparatus, which we're constantly iterating and trying to improve. We're really excited about next year focusing on developing some improved trainings for our leadership in the district to help them meet the challenges that they face on the job, and also developing what we're calling kind of a series of micro trainings, which will be things that folks can access for professional development or things they really need to know how to do more in the moment, sort of bite-sized training that can be applied just when it's needed. We also have a number of staff that contribute to technical aspects of customer support from HR. So every month we receive about 350 requests via email and phone call for any manner of questions related to pay, benefits, things that people need to change in terms of their records with their employer. It's really managing that relationship between the employee and the employer. And we feel like it's our job to do an excellent response to each of those requests, be very timely, and be able to point people in the right direction to get the help that they need so that they can get back to the work of the district. And right now we're doing a good job of that. We plan to continue to invest in that next year. In addition to that, the other kind of technical customer support aspect I would highlight for you is our contribution to something that Holly brought up, which is the ongoing sort of build out of our employee management system, the enterprise system that she mentioned, Tyler Muniz. And, you know, we're continuing to contribute to that from our staff's perspective as well and collaborate really closely with both finance and IT. We're excited this year to expand on our reporting capability, which we think is going to pay big dividends in terms of the ability to support internal operations and supervisory oversight with increased or improved reporting. We could go to the next slide. The other program in our HR division is risk and benefits, managed by Mark Hawkinen. And Mark manages a team of very, very busy professionals providing critical services to the district. And that starts with benefits. We have comprehensive benefits packages for full-time employees. New employees need to be signed up for benefits. There's open enrollment each year. This is a program that needs to be administered and is done so very expertly by Mark's staff. In addition to that, they help us shop for and maintain competitive benefits. We all know the kind of landscape for benefits right now is very complex and ever-changing. And so it's important for us to have some in-house expertise with regard to that part of our business. We also have a staff dedicated to protected leave and workers' compensation work that comes through our office. As you may know, there are fairly complex protected leave laws at this point that we need to stay on top of and make sure that employees are able to access the benefits that they're legally entitled to. And Mark's team does an excellent job of that. We have a safety and compliance technician that works on the team who does an excellent job of really traveling throughout the district and doing a number of different things to make sure that patrons and employees are both safe when they're accessing our services and buildings and facilities. And that's a complex piece of work that happens year round. In addition to that, this team does procurement and contract support. Mark manages for the entire district over 150 different contracts with vendors, which, as you can imagine, takes a great deal of liaisoning and shopping and work to keep those contracts ready to serve the district. And also, they provide expert insurance monitoring for us. So this is both property, liability, in addition to the medical benefit insurance. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Jared.
Thank you, Steve. So within finance, we work hard to provide financial and operational integrity and credibility to the district. We do this through transparency in reporting and planning. So some of the key initiatives in particular for the finance director in the upcoming year are to ensure that the district's pension funding policy is fully implemented and followed, support the equity vision of the district, and support the fiscal operations and accounting and budget operations in any way that I can. We will also be, as a team, we will be supporting the upcoming registration replacement project. We have a vested interest in parts of that registration system and want to make sure that it works well with our new finance system. For the upcoming year, part-time dollars as well as materials and services funds were converted to establish a full-time program assistant position within the accounting and budget division. This was a need that we saw within that division. We currently have two higher level accountants that are supposed to be able to back each other up, supposed to be able to cross train, but they are so busy and so consumed with all the things that need to get done that they just have a hard enough time doing their own job, let alone helping and supporting each other and backfilling for each other. And so this will assist in some of that work. The Fiscal Operations Division is responsible for all of our operational accounting activities, including payroll, pension and retirement, accounting, accounts payable, cash receipts, as well as investing of public funds, procurement, and support of the accounting and budget functions. For the upcoming year, the division's goals include supporting the equity vision of the district through our support of the grant funding and compliance process. Grant dollars allow the district to expand programming for our diverse community, and finance ensures that our spending and documentation of that spending under the programs meet all compliance requirements. The department will also continue to develop and implement procedures in sustainability and equity in purchasing. And these procedures will be emphasized in all capital projects. And as was mentioned previously, there were more part-time dollars transitioned from fiscal operations to accounting and budget for the establishment of that program assistant position. And finally, to wrap up the finance area, we do have accounting and budget. This division is responsible for the district's accounting, financial reporting, performance measurement, financial planning, budgeting, business planning, and management of the district's financial data. A key initiative in the upcoming year will be to continue to support the district's grant strategy and ensure compliance and timely reporting of grant data. And as was previously mentioned, we added that new position for the program assistant within the accounting and budget to support the many audit and budget processes within the district. We also have an additional part-time funds that were added to hire a staff accountant to take the lead on the accounting work for the Tualatin Hills Park Foundation. So we currently do the accounting for the foundation in-house, which our auditors love because we have good controls in place and they can trust our controls, and they would want to see that continue. And so, like I said earlier, our accounting, our higher level accountants are busy. And sometimes they, especially with the implementation of the new software system, they had to set one thing aside to focus on something that was falling behind. And then they had to set that down to refocus on stuff that was falling behind. This part-time position will allow a dedicated staff person strictly for the accounting of the foundation. I know Gina with the foundation was excited about this and looks forward to being able to work with this individual. And with that, I believe we're again going to pause for any discussion that you may have.
Jared, was that position contracted before, or who was doing that work for the foundation before this transition?
It was being done by the accounting and budget manager as well as the higher level
Okay.
staff accountants.
Okay, so just other duties as assigned.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
If I recall correctly, which is questionable, a prior year budget priority was, like in personnel and your employees. Um, and you know, if I'm looking at the page 9 of the, of the introductory memo, I'll call it. You know, it seems like there's a commitment to that with the 4.8% overall increase in personnel service costs, some of which is new FTEs like the event person, and that's awesome. And my family goes to events all the time, so that's great in this part-term position. I do see though, just like that 20% increase in medical benefits just kind of stands out to me. Is that richer benefits or is that premium increase? Just, you know, the market rate is just kind of skyrocketed.
So I'm actually going to refer to Steve for this one.
Yeah, that's a figure that we reached essentially as a kind of a safeguard measure against variables beyond our control. We are currently in negotiations with our bargaining unit in terms of that, and that will have some impact on benefits, but we're not, we do not expect to see increases in coverage at this time. I think the 20% is representative of a concern about what our providers increase may be to us, which we will not know until late summer.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you, Steve.
Follow up on that?
Yeah.
Just, is the district its own risk pool or do you pool with others? Make sense?
Yeah, we're not pooling with other organizations when we're shopping for insurance, if that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Yes,
So if you,
at this time, that's not a strategy we've employed.
okay, so with the number of employees that you have, if someone gets a very complicated health condition, that can then impact your rates as well when you're in negotiations for what your premiums are going to be in future years.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
I support the IT budget planning. This my experience so far with the website is not very good, so I'm very excited that next year we will have a much better website. A question on IT department. I see that we have last year we have 5.9 FTE, and in the amended budget we say it's 10. Have we filled all the position yet by now? Or I mean, how many FTEs for now on the IT department?
I'm understanding correctly, is how many FTE total are there in
Yes,
IT?
because I see the big jump from last year to this year from 5.9 FTE to 10 FTEs. So I'm just, I mean, wonder if we have been able to fill all of the position yet?
So,
Go ahead.
Holly, just real quick,
Yeah.
first, the 5.9 is actual.
Yes.
The amount budgeted for 24, I believe, was still at 10. And this is where I'll turn it over to Holly now to talk about our difficulties we've had.
Yeah, we were very lucky that we were budgeted for 2 new positions last year, and the first one we filled. So we have had 1 help desk person for all hours of the district. And we are not an 8 to 5 operation. So traditionally, we had 1 help desk person. They were there 40 hours a week. They worked 7 to 4. And if you worked in the evenings and you worked weekends, we did not have help desk support, and that is not good for a park district that is open evenings and weekends. So we were able to get a second position in this current fiscal budget that we're in, and that position is filled. That person has been trained, and now we have evening and weekend coverage. Yay! But we also were in the process of restructuring and doing the assessment. So we have sat on some vacant positions to wait for the assessment to be done. And we are restructuring based on what we learned in the assessment. So from that, you'll see us move to the 10 positions. We've got a couple that are unfilled, and we will be filling them now that we've got the assessment and the picture of where we want to go. And we'll end up with one IT manager, 2 lead workers underneath them, and then everyone will report to either the lead worker or the IT manager. Another unfilled position right now is the project manager for the new registration system. And we anticipate filling that later in this calendar year, in anticipation for the requirements beginning. So we have sat on a couple of vacant positions to get through the restructuring.
Just one input about presentation. Could we have a summary table of FT increase by department?
Have that.
Do we have? Sorry, I missed that.
No worries, no worries. I don't remember the page. But it is page BI 11.
Oh,
So,
okay.
budget information.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thanks.
Seeing and hearing no further discussion, I'll turn over to Aisha to talk about park services.
Hello again. So I would like to share with you about our Park Services Division, which is made up of 4 departments. They're listed here on the screen: maintenance operations, support services, sustainability, and planning and development. There's another smaller group in there that is the Office of the Director, and that is where I sit. And that's where all of our legislative work is done. So we have that funded out of the Office of Director. Collectively, these departments all provide for the full life cycle of parks. So we are the ones that are out working on the planning collaboratively with cities, counties, other service providers. We do the land acquisition, we design and permit, and then supervise the construction of our parks, trails, and natural areas. And then we also care for the ongoing maintenance of parks, trails, natural areas, facilities, and take care of any renovation that occurs. So this year and continuing into next fiscal year, we have 2 significant projects underway. We are planning for that potential replacement bond, and we're carrying out a building relocation and consolidation of our administrative and maintenance functions. We are beginning to implement an asset management plan. This year, we had funds allocated to do a study of all the requirements for what we would want to track in our asset management system. We have relied on Excel spreadsheets for many, many years. It was just pen and paper prior to that, I'm sure. But now with a system of our size, and it's growing and it's aging, we really need a better tool than Excel to be able to know where all of our assets are, number one, but to be able to give those scores for their quality, how much longer they have in their life cycles, so that we can really effectively plan, knowing that overall our resources are not going to be dramatically increasing over time. So we do anticipate having that work conclude so that we can then get a recommendation on what our asset management solution might be. And next year we intend to implement it. Is anyone else as annoyed with the in and out of the speaker as I am? It's not great. It's not great. All right, so as I mentioned, also within Park Services, we manage the legislative work for the district. So that is both at the state level and at the federal level. Both in this month, I had the opportunity to participate in lobbying trips to DC, and Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, some of our board members accompanied me down to Salem to talk with our legislators about the wonderful ways in which they can get involved with the cool things we're doing at THPRD. And those were great visits. So we also collaborate with the Oregon Recreation and Park Association, which has a legislative committee. And so we look at things from that lens, as well as from our unique perspective as a park service provider and the largest park service provider in the service district in the state in our participation with Special Districts Association of Oregon. So moving on to the next slide. Jessica gave me control, but I think she's handling it. She's doing a great job. So in the coming fiscal year, we anticipate our park services budget to be nearly $18.5 million. You can see on that pie chart that a huge chunk of that money goes to the work we do in maintenance operations. So these are not revenue producing activities. These are for enjoyment and safe and accessible spaces for our community members to come play in. So that takes up the majority of the budget. The next group that has the biggest share of the park services budget is our support services group. And that is the group that has all of our building trades that make sure that all of our systems are up and running on an ongoing basis, and also our fleet operations. So all of the vehicles that it takes to go and service 119 parks and over 150 natural areas and 70 miles of trails are being done in vehicles and using equipment that are cared for by that group. The next group down in the gold color is the planning and development group, which is all of our urban planners and our park planners that are out managing the efforts of bringing those parks and trails online. And then our sustainability group is the group that is responsible for looking at things for the district on both an environmental side, but also a financial stewardship side. So this is the group that contains our sustainability manager, also contains our grants administrator. So that's a big piece of the financial side of it because she leads a grant steering committee that goes out and tries to find more money. So when we talk about diversification, that is a key role for us. Some will recall that we have a waiver program for system development charges that are the fees that developers pay when they add to our housing stock or build new commercial buildings. They pay a fee to help us expand our park system. And that is a really critical element of funds for us. We had learned many years ago that this was could be a pretty significant barrier to affordable housing. And so our board, many years ago, I think 2020, we adopted a waiver program through our methodology that allowed us to waive fees for certain affordable housing projects. But the idea at the time was we needed to try and make up those funds we would be waiving by going after grants. And so we put in much more effort into pursuing grant opportunities. So we have annual updates to our board and share with them what we have done on both the affordable housing side and the waiver side, but also how we're bringing in funds for grants. And we have exceeded beyond, well beyond by multiple times the amount that we have waived. So it has been a very successful approach for us, and it is one key function of that group. Another position represented in sustainability is our park resources analyst, which is a person who is working in the GIS system and helping us make that transition from Excel spreadsheets and the GIS information to something that we can better manage through an asset management system. So focuses both on environmental because it's led by our staff member who is the one crafting a lot of our functional plan updates, but also the climate action plan. So all of that information kind of carries forward for us. And so that is all of the groups, including the Park Services Director in Park Services. Moving on to the next slide, we will talk about maintenance operations. So this group, still on maintenance. Okay. This group is responsible for all of our maintenance activities at our parks and athletic facilities. And beginning in July 2025, they will also be taking care of our natural areas and trails as well when the Nature and Trails operational group, the field staff that have been in the Nature and Trails group, will move to our maintenance group. And so this is giving us the opportunity to allow our manager within sustainability to focus on those environmental and financially sustainable and stewardship strategies, but it puts our field staff who are doing a lot of the same work as our maintenance staff all under one manager so that we can really optimize what we're doing in terms of training, material sharing, and potentially even making use of folks when high season's really high in the summer. Our staff on the park side are really busy. In the winter months, they have more time for projects, and that also coincidentally is a pretty busy time for our nature staff. So we see that there's an opportunity to really find some efficiencies there. So another thing I wanted to mention is that this is the largest department within the division, and that's both by our full-time and our part-time staff counts. They care for those 119 parks, the 70 miles of trail, and the 150 natural areas. But also we care for those properties that are on our property, but also others. And if you came in and saw any baseball families, this is a field owned by Tualatin Valley Water District, cared for by the Park District. So just an example, and we have those across the district with Beaverton School District and other entities like Portland Community College, Portland Public Schools. So next up, we have support services. This is a group, again, that has the internal service provider functions within park services, our fleet folks, and the building trades. So the fleet mechanics care for our mobile recreation vans, our park maintenance trucks and trailers, our dump trucks, boom trucks, and even our stir center bus. In addition, they maintain the hundreds of pieces of equipment that our staff require to do their job each day. Our building trade staff are the specialized staff that care for our aging buildings that really we need to maintain in a functional status. These folks can be reached with a simple work order request, and they tackle projects within our buildings that are maybe beyond the scope of what our building maintenance technicians would encounter in a given day or week. And these are things like tweaking our HVAC systems, large painting projects. It's a way for us to tackle some of the projects that building maintenance techs may not do because they're caring for the building and running switches between programs. So in the coming year, this department's going to be looking towards some more technological solutions to better track and evaluate the vehicles and equipment and buildings that we are in, and to look for ways to increase energy efficiency across the district that is consistent with our climate action plan. So moving along to sustainability, this is a 3-person powerhouse department within the division. And like I mentioned earlier, it's referencing both our stewardship of the natural realm, but also our financial sustainability and making sure that we are using to the best extent of our ability the resources that are provided by our park patrons and voters. This department tackles a variety of activities for the district. It includes the district's only park resource analyst who tracks critical information for us and maintains that GIS data, as well as the grants administrator. In this coming year, we're going to be implementing the next stage of the asset management system and implementing the new software so that we can track those assets. And the sustainability manager is taking the lead on the work we're doing to craft that potential replacement bond ask. And so this is work to kind of look at across the system, what are the projects that are desperately needed? And then there's an effort to engage with our public to find out what the public truly supports. But we're doing the work now, just the baseline work to define where are our struggles right now? We're looking at things that were done in the previous bond or the 1994 bond that are now coming due. We're looking at the fact that we have 119 parks and a whole lot of playgrounds that need replacement because they've all kind of aged out at the same time or are reaching the end of their life. They're all fine right now. We check very frequently, but we need to plan for that future. And so the sustainability group is a group that we've been talking about this asset management solution and transition for the last 4 or 5 years. And we've been moving toward this. And what we were noticing, and there was a question from testimony earlier today about what process we went through to try and make this decision. And it was really having a conversation with our maintenance operations staff and our sustainability or nature and trails staff at the time about how we were meeting the needs. And the needs were truly to have a dedicated team of folks that could take us into this future and find these tools and come up with these ways that we could better serve the community, knowing that our resources were limited. And then we knew we had an established, solid team of nature and trail staff that we wanted to incorporate with our maintenance staff, but we want them to maintain their identity as nature and trails. They're not being folded in and split up between teams on the maintenance side. They are going over as an intact unit with a supervisor, and that supervisor has knowledge of our biological systems, has worked in this world. And the really great thing about this is that all of our planning work over the years and the development of things like functional plans have provided something like the Natural Resources Functional Plan that sets our standards for how we maintain areas. It classifies things into high, medium, and lower functioning natural areas, and it sets the standards for how we care for those spaces. So we have our metrics that this team has been meeting. Those metrics will carry forward to them into the new location they'll serve from, which is in maintenance operations. And we measure this every year. You see the KPIs that are in our budget book. So we're monitoring that, and we'll continue to monitor that because it will remain that distinct unit. So I know that there were some concerns about whether there would be a dilution of nature and trails activities with this move. We don't see it that way. We are very clear what our district values are around environmental stewardship, as well as our budget priorities. So I'll share that, and we'll come to an end very soon where there's an opportunity to talk, and I can answer any more questions about that. But that's just a quick overview, maybe not so quick, sorry about that, about why we pursued that change. So the next and last division department is our planning and development group. And as I mentioned, this is made up of two different groups. It was planning and development. So planning is more the coordination with interagency partners, where we're going out and talking about what will future Cooper Mountain look like? What will South Cooper Mountain look like? How's North Bethany going to develop? And then we have the folks that are developing and bringing online the actual amenities that have been dreamed of for those spaces. So this is a group of about 9 folks right now, and they are doing some really solid work in the future. They're going to be looking at things like they're updating our parks functional plan, talking about things like art and signage. They're going to continue the work to acquire land that has been planned for and identified as future parks, trails, and natural areas. And another big piece that is connected to that grant strategy and the waiver program for SDCs is that they're going to be updating our system development methodology, which we do on I think every 5-year rolling schedule. So that is planning and development, and we are pausing to see if there are questions.
Looking at this budget for maintenance and sustainability, it's going from 9.4 to 11.8. How much of that is part of the sustainability transfer budget?
So sustainability will remain with 3 staff, and the balance of the staff, I think there is a supervisor, 2 specialists, 5 park rangers. Those are the staff that would move to maintenance. So is that the 11? Okay.
It went from 9 to 11, and it was the dip from 2.3 to 6.
Which column are you looking at? We added the park resource analyst and we moved them. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm looking, he's
You're looking over his
looking
shoulder.
at dollars, not people.
Dollars there, the budget.
Okay,
So,
Page PSB 3.
okay, let me look it up.
Yep.
Sorry. Okay, where is this again? The 9 to 11
and then
for park services.
Park services amended budget 24-25 was 9.4. The proposed budget is 11.8. That went up by almost 2.5. And the sustainability went down from 2.3 to 6.
Right, so that's, I believe that's reflective of the personnel that would be moving.
0.4 is the personnel budget that's moving to maintenance.
We would have to look into, sorry, I'm not prepared to answer that on the fly. We can look at that, or Jared, who has his encyclopedic memory of everything in the budget book, can help me out.
That. However, on page PSV 24, that is only nature and trail maintenance. So that is the portion that was transferred, it's about 1.7, almost 1.8 million that came from sustainability over to maintenance operations. And so that's the portion that he was asking about, is how much was for nature and trails. So in the current year of budget, the nature and trails maintenance, actually, Kristen, can I get that budget book from you, please? Kristen reminded me that she brought this year's budget book with her, just in case. Now, what I'm going to open up here for park services in sustainability is going to include not only the nature and trail maintenance staff, but the other 3 staff that remained in sustainability. So the current year budget total for sustainability, including those nature and trail maintenance, was 2.3 million. So roughly, now the 1.7 in nature and trail maintenance does include inflation. Inflationary factors, does include increases for personnel services and materials and services. So essentially we went from 2.3 in the current year to 1.7 and 600,000. So if I do my math, 2.3, a little more than 2.3, about 70, between 70 and 80,000 more for those 2 areas next year than this year. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yep.
Are there any other questions about park services? Yes.
Make a comment and thank you for addressing. I know that we did receive some concerns from our nature and trails folks. So just as the liaison on that. So thank you for acknowledging. I think the optics was an area of concern of, again, deprioritization. So you gave a wonderful example, but if we could just underscore that, and I think that might be where some of these questions are coming with the dollars, that I think the word you actually used was optimize, was to optimize and create greater efficiencies, but that entire unit, it's an org structure and a reporting change, not actually what they will be doing, and a headcount shift.
It is not a headcount shift. No, definitely not. All right, I think Park Service or Rec Services is up next. Julie.
Good evening. I'm Julie Rocha. I'm the Sports and Inclusion Director, and I co-direct the Recreation Services with Sabrina Taylor-Schmidt. You'll hear from her shortly. The Recreation Service Division includes aquatic, recreation, sports, nature, fitness, sponsorships, Jenkins Estate, and adaptive and inclusion services. We provide a broad range of programs and special events that serve the diverse community and provide health and wellness opportunities. So we'll take a few moments just to share some highlights. The division is excited about adding additional funding to the budget to increase staffing levels at Cedar Hills Rec Center, Garden Home Rec Center, Elsie Stir Center, and Harmon Swim Center. The creation of these program assistant positions will allow us to expand program and facility hours, including weekends. These positions are leveraged using part-time dollars in the existing budgets at those facilities. Recreation center staff will increase revenue by expanding these facility rentals by partnering with local businesses and organizations for events, conferences, and workshop. This strategy will provide additional funding streams while fostering community collaboration. The division is also working with the finance department to explore options for a new financial sustainability model and provide an update to our existing methodology. Our rec center maintenance staff is following our sustainability strategy that includes adopting energy efficient technology and encouraging green building practices. Our centers are also integrating digital tools for class registration, attendance tracking, communication to reduce paper usage and increase efficiencies, upgrade to technologies such as translation devices that Holly talked about, interactive kiosks will better assist the patrons and streamline our operations. In January, we created a 2-year limited duration sponsorship administrator position within Rec Service Division to explore, develop, and implement a corporate sponsorship program. This program aims to build partnerships with businesses to come with visibility and marketing benefits such as logo placement, shout outs at or facilities and event presence. Unlike grants and donations, sponsorship offer a tangible return to help businesses reach their target audience and achieve their goals. This position has created a summer sponsorship package that's currently out to local businesses to sponsor some of our big events, such as our concert series, Big Truck Day, or our All Ability Try. We've also hired a consultant, and we're working with communications to assist us in developing our sponsorship strategy long term. Really need to know what our value is, what is our worth, how much of these ball field signs can we sell, or what does that look like for us as a park district? So we're excited to get that work started. And then finally, the Diversify internship program. Currently, we've hosted 13 students this year, and we are about to onboard 8 new interns for our summer cohort that starts in June. And now I'm going to turn it over to Sabrina Taylor-Schmidt, our Recreation and Aquatics Director.
Next slide, please. Thank you, Julie. Good evening. My name is Sabrina Taylor-Schmidt, and I'm the Recreation and Aquatics Director. If you want to follow along, you can open your book to RSV2. The Recreation Services Division is working on a $35.5 million appropriation. This budget reflects that all THPRD centers will be open with the expansion of hours, as Julie mentioned, at Cedar Hills, the Elsie Stir Center, and Garden Home to meet the needs of our community. All the centers continue to monitor their programs each term and adopt operational needs. Last year, you approved the operational analysis position, and that position is helping us take a look at the data and how to best maximize and recognize the needs for our community. As Julie mentioned, the sponsorship administration position is reflected in this budget, as well as the 4 program assistants that are being leveraged by part-time dollars. So similar to Wes Holly was explaining, it has been difficult to sometimes long-term fill those part-time positions, and we are seeing a demand in our centers. So we're using those unused part-time dollars to leverage into a full-time position, which we're really excited about. The program assistant position is a great position for us because it's an entry-level position, and it's a growth position for us long-term because it can feed into our upper-level positions as we go on. It's been a great addition to our departments in the last few years. Next slide, please. This budget reflects the adjustment targets that we set last year. These are realistic targets, have been attainable, and they just show a modest growth. And as we continue to see the centers operate full and expand, we'll be able to have a better understanding of how much we can grow into that. So we don't want to get over our skis. We want to stay modest and within those targets. We're going to go into each of the departments. Next slide, please, and we'll take a look at recreation. The Recreation Department is on page RSV 57, and this includes Cedar Hills Nature Center, Conestoga Recreation Aquatic Center, and also houses our district-wide customer service team. This budget reflects an additional program assistant at Cedar Hills, and it's going to extend to weekend hours. This is new. Cedar Hills has not been open on Sunday. This is different than pre-pandemic, and we're excited to see the growth to meet the need for weekend hours that we're seeing at our other facilities. I will go over some of the other highlights that help support district values and priorities. At Cedar Hills, Conestoga, and the Nature Center, we will continue our teen-focused RISE program in cooperation with volunteer services. RISE is a youth leadership program where teens support classes, camps, and events and gain workforce development skills and experience. My daughter did it last year, really enjoyed it. Great place for tweens and teens. We will continue to engage the Thrive students in BSD schools with the monthly program themes that reflect commitment to our learning about race, culture, and diversity, as well as instruction on providing services to our community and expand opportunity for students to participate in the community and area competitions, such as we did last year, the Washington County Kids. Last year we won the contest at Conestoga, but this year's theme is After School is Cool. So I look forward to seeing the art that the after school programs develop this year. 12th and Hills Nature Center will continue the community engagement opportunities with the Nature Mobile program. This consists of free mobile programs that will provide hands-on interactive nature activities for our visitors of all ages at at 5 THPRD parks each week from June through August. Cedar Hills Rec Center will continue to offer the middle school cross country and track and field, and this program just keeps growing. It works with BSD students working towards increasing the numbers of schools involved and creating opportunities for BSD youth to qualify and participate in statewide competitions. With the support of the State Oregon Youth and Solution Grant, the Nature Center will continue to host a Black and Green Fellowship Program. This is a paid workforce training program that consists of 12 BSD high school students for the health and wellness of natures and parks and careers in nature. So this is a really great program that also continues to grow that we started a few years ago in partnership with the Black and Green Fellowship Program. So we will also, we're not done. We have a lot more to do this year. We will continue with our district-wide welcoming center, focusing on providing exceptional engagement and coordinating the district-wide quarterly registration system and supporting with the equity and engagement teams bilingual registration events through Centro de Benavida. So there, the recreation's got a lot going on. If we go to the next slide for aquatics, we go backwards in our book to RSV 12. The aquatics department includes Harmon, Sunset, Aloha, Beaverton, and the 50-meter pool, as well as our 2 outdoor pools, Raleigh Hill Swim Center and Somerset West Swim Center. The budget does include the new program assistant at the Harmon Swim Center to continue the expanding growth of programs there. We are going to continue to work on our update our agreements with the affiliate aquatic clubs and the pool space allocation this year. We have had great success in removing barriers to the lifeguard program with our Earn to Learn program. We've done some presentations for the board on that and talked about it in the past. We're going to continue with that and look to expand that. We also are expanding our adaptive classes that have been primarily housed at Harmon Swim Center. We're looking to expand training at all of our centers to make adaptive classes more accessible across the district. We also will partner with the Equity and Engagement Department to promote additional partnerships and events and opportunities for historically marginalized groups to participate in aquatics. Examples include sensory swim and women's only swim opportunities at Beaverton and Harmon, as well as our monthly co-produced events with diverse local partners to promote and encourage engagement with members of the THPRD community. Some of those you heard last month at the board meeting that enjoyed some of those women only swims. We also will continue to hold back in the beginning registration 50% of our swim lesson opportunities for financial aid recipients to ensure that all members of THPRD communities have access to life-saving swimming skills. As you hear, those are some of the first classes to fill. So by holding back and making those available at Centro, we're able to get some of our most at-risk community members into those needed swim lessons. Next slide, please. Building maintenance and coordination, the undersung hero of our team here. This is on RSV 76. Building maintenance department works to coordinate with recreation in our aquatic facility, pool operators and building techs. They help to direct the work and completing deficient items listed on the ADA transition plan, as well as focus on safety and improving access to all of our facilities. We utilize current practices and coordinate with applicable departments, such as our larger maintenance department, to incorporate sustainable elements into design and construction to allow successful and efficient long-term care and maintenance of our facility. Maintenance and facility preventative maintenance, as you heard Aisha speak of, is really something that this team does really well and has helped keep our buildings looking so great and operational. And they spend a lot of time ensuring our critical systems, our roofs, and are operating efficiently and safely for people to continue using them. This department also maintains our splash pads and our outdoor restrooms, so they keep themselves going pretty good. We will continue with the district's longtime partnership with a not-for-profit rehabilitation and cooperation that helps place individuals with intellectual disabilities in our workforce. And this has been going on for a long time with great success, and we enjoy having a diverse workforce. I will now pass it back to Julie.
All right, thank you. Sports and Inclusion Department includes the Athletic Center, Babette Hornstein Tennis Center, the Elsie Stir Center, Garden Home Recreation Center, Jenkins Estate, District-wide Fitness, and Adaptive and Inclusion Services. The Athletic Center Youth Basketball League are now members of the Junior NBA League. In this partnership, it has provided our league with the state-of-the-art jersey designs, high-quality youth basketballs, and access to the Portland Trailblazers. And they came out and did a season end-up wrap-up event for our league. And as there's a lot of competition out there for basketball, really excited to have this partnership and excited for the WNBA so we can have our girls also wearing local teams. The Athletics Center staff is working with Triple Crown Sports to bring a leg of the Softball Little League World Series to THPRD in July to raise awareness of girls in sports. Both our adult volleyball and youth leagues have expanded at the Athletics Center, so we've added programming on Sunday to accommodate the growth. The Tennis Center is really excited about adding new security cameras into our air structure and our breezeway. It's quickly allowed us to quickly respond to emergencies since we have eyes that are able to see what's going on in those outside structures. And we're excited about that. The Tennis Center is partnering with USTA. We hosted Adult Sectional League, the Pacific Cup Rec Tennis programs, and throughout this current year, we've served 3,000 players across the Pacific Northwest. This year at tennis, we are playing 2 Roads to 100 events in partnership with USTA, and this is to introduce 100 new players to tennis. So really excited about those coming soon. Garden Home After School Thrive program has received an additional $10,000 grant from NRPA for a mentoring program at our Chehalem location. This is our second year. They're very impressed with the work that we did, and so we're excited to be able to continue that program. Garden Home collaborated with the Estuary Center, a therapy center for teens and adults with autism, to create opportunities for their students to gain skills through volunteering at the center. 2 students and their teachers worked with our maintenance staff to learn how to wipe down equipment, restock supplies, and perform other light custodial duties. Garden Home is one of the locations identified for a program assistant position, so we can extend programming and operating hours to increase weekend and access to recreation. We've got a lot of requests for weekends at that facility for rentals, and this will allow us to be able to open that up to community members. RecMobile successfully supports 3 low-income housing complexes monthly. The RecMobile is scheduled to attend 11 events between March and June, with new requests coming weekly. So far, we've reached 767 community members through events by visiting parks during spring break and our regular apartment visits. Our fitness team, as Sabrina alluded to earlier, is working on adaptive circuit weight room. They've focused this at Garden Home. It's focused for people experiencing disabilities. This class debuted in the winter term and is back for a second term and full with 13 patrons and a wait list. We also have expanded fitness offerings at Harmon with the Revive H2O, a small group training formatted for patrons recovering from illness or surgery, with 11 participants this term. We've also begun to offer personal training in the water. Fitness is offering a mental health 5K and 1K on May 4th, so get your running shoes on and join us. They're also continuing to host continuing education workshops, Aquatic Exercise Association continuing education workshop, in partnership with Beaverton Swim Center on May 17th and 18th, and the Run Free Clinic and Pelvic Core Balance training at Conestoga in October. We're going to offer a yoga for menopause at the Nature Center this summer on June 30th in response to high requests for women-focused fitness offerings. The STIR Center is the other location, working to expand programming opportunities during the evenings and weekends, enhancing community access and engaging the public to have more community access to that facility. The STIR Center has begun a partnership with the Westside Career Resource Center to build a relationship that will allow individuals from this community to have access and resources in our district. So we've actually carved out time where we're not open and that we're able to invite folks in and they can host their meetings, and we're working collaboratively to see if we are able to host some events. And then finally, the STIR Centers work closely with our communications department and community partners for events during Beaverton Welcome Week. We had the Community Pulse Association, the Ukrainian event. We have the Israeli Independence Day celebration and the Filipino cultural food and discussion events there. Next slide, please. Our adaptive and inclusion includes Camp Rivendell, our one-on-one inclusion support, therapeutic rec, and then classes. The staff has been participating in Centro de Bienvenida event and providing business cards with Braille. Staff have streamlined the request for inclusion support and created a QR code for easy access. Next fiscal year, staff is working to digitize all of the inclusion paperwork to make it easier for families to enter into our system. This summer, we're adjusting our Camp Rivendell to meet our patrons' sensory needs by offering camp from 9 to 1. This change creates a more inclusive environment and will allow patrons with limited activity tolerance to attend the entire camp. Last summer, we served 170 campers. With the growth of our patrons served, we've also involved our inclusion assistant roles to training and focusing on cross-training, so they work in multiple areas, so they may support an individual one-on-one. We're also facilitating group programs run by inclusion by having open times where we set up activities and people can drop in for those. And we are working with RecMobile and community outreach. We've also hired bilingual staff, so we're able to serve families that are English language learners. This year, we've supported 8,391 hours of inclusion support to patrons. And then this is a longstanding partnership with the Autism Society of Oregon, but we just hosted our spring celebration and our silent egg hunt at Mountain View on March 22nd, and we've had 250 attendees. And it is one of the most unique events if you ever get a chance to go out there, and it's very quiet egg hunt. Next slide, please. The Jenkins Estate has, so we've been operating for about 9 months now as having staff up there, and staff have hosted private events for various ethnic groups and cultural groups, focusing on us being a space where community members can come and feel welcome. For example, they hosted the Diwali celebration, a bar mitzvah, quinceañeras, drag queen bingo, an Indian engagement party, and a Japanese opera. Over the past 9 months, the Jenkins staff team have connected with many local business and corporations to rent out the historically utilized space Monday through Friday. They've created ongoing rental contracts with local companies like TVF&R, Northwest Health Corporation, the Beaver Chamber of Commerce, OHSU, and many more. The Jenkins team has created a partnership with local clothing brand Arterix to host we hosted a free Earth Day event at the Jenkins stable, and we had 100 community members connect with 7 local nonprofits that were supported by the Nature Mobile and the RecMobile. And if you don't have plans on Mother's Day, please join us for our special Queens Honoring Queens event on Sunday, May 11th from 9:30 to noon. We're hosting a fabulous morning of entertainment, food, and fun. Next slide. And that is all for us. Questions?
Why are we discontinuing swim lessons at Raleigh?
This will be our second summer of not having swim lessons there. 2 summers before, we tried to run swim lessons and they were not successful. They would not fill, so we've reduced the staffing level and expanded our offerings for rentals, as well as lap swim and open swim, and shifted that resource over to Somerset, which is more booming typically, and our other centers that we saw the need that. So the neighborhood has changed a little bit. We think it'll cycle. It tends to have a little bit of cycle, so we're watching that.
Okay.
Outdoor lessons in Oregon tend to be a little more tentative, and that pool is beautiful, but seems to sometimes have that afternoon shade.
Yeah, okay. And then I did have a second question. So sports and inclusion, the FTE increased, but the contact hours decreased, and funded hours decreased. Do you know what the culprit of that would mostly be?
I'll have to look into that. What page are you on?
It's on. So on RSV 42, you can see like the FTE. Oh, well, I guess the part.
Well, these are,
FTE decreased.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we are adding the 2 positions to increase the hours. We'll have more contact hours. Right now, Garden Home's not open on the weekends. The LC Stir Center's not open on the weekends either, and they close at 5 currently.
Sorry, just one more little bit of information. You might also compare those numbers with our actuals. Yes, we had contact hours of 924,000 budgeted, but in fiscal year 24, it was just under 300,000 actual. So.
I had a question, just a comment, unrelated to budget. That was a whole lot of really cool things that you covered. I was just remiss not to mention that. Really excited about checking out the softball Little League World Series. That's exciting, and the road to 100 tennis. The 5K, 1K, I think is full, but also I just wanted to mention I went to go.
Oh, we capped out.
Log on, I think it was full. So anyway, thank you.
Just a quick clarification, the 50% of swim lesson opportunities held for financial aid, does that mean we just reserve them and see if they fill, or do they normally fill that, or?
Yeah,
Just
I
curious.
couldn't give you an exact number of how many it fills. So what we do is we hold back and make sure that we get the 50%. And then as soon as there's a period of time, specifically when Centro's over, and because we're working with our financial aid scholarship people, we open them back up to everybody. And so we kind of do a blanket because we don't know where everybody's going to go in the time of day. And then we open them back up. So they fill up, don't worry.
Wanted to go for it. I just wanted to make a comment actually on the park services going back one, because I know we're going to move to the next agenda item. But the amount of intergovernmental work that's happening is really exciting. I joined the budget committee in the depths of COVID, and this was an area where we really weren't that active. And it's just been fantastic to see how much that engagement has grown, and to see the strategy actually be implemented successfully is fantastic. So just kudos there.
If nothing else, I'll turn it back to Jared.
I am going to take an opportunity real quick before I get into other funds to ask if anybody needs a bio break. Okay. Let's take 5 minutes and come back at 7:40. Okay. I will briefly discuss a couple of our other funds, starting off with the debt service fund, which accounts for the annual property tax revenues and the annual debt service payments on our general obligation debt. Now, the general obligation debt was approved by the voters to be repaid out of a designated additional property tax levy. Now, this fund includes repayment of the 23 million outstanding bond balance from the 2008 bond levy. The levy amount is set based on the annual debt service payment required, and then the rate is determined based on the total assessed value. The total levy amount needed for the coming year is 9.5 million. And based on our projected growth in assessed value, this would result in a property tax rate of 28 cents per thousand, which continues to be well below our projected rate of 37 cents as stated in the 2008 election materials. Now, this lower rate is due to a combination of the favorable market conditions at the time of the original sale of the bonds, as well as subsequent refinancing, which reduced the total debt service amount to be paid by the district. Great news. Another fund that we have within the budget, the proposed budget document, is the Maintenance Mitigation Reserve Fund. Now, several years ago, the district received funds for mitigation work done on our sites to offset development impacts at wetlands elsewhere. Now, these funds were set aside to be the source of future maintenance work on these mitigation sites. While we are not receiving additional resources of this type, these funds may still be needed for future maintenance work. And with that, I will pause. I think I'm pausing. Yes, I'm pausing one last time for discussion on the debt service fund or the maintenance mitigation reserve fund. I know these aren't exciting funds, but they're necessary. And hearing nothing, I will actually turn it over to Aisha for our capital.
Thank you, Jared. One of the efforts that the Park Services Division also leads each year is the crafting of our capital projects budget. On this next screen here, you will see our carry forward projects line there at the top. This number is higher than we would typically see in a given year because of the number of grant funded projects that didn't move forward as far in this year as we expected. And that means the project's going to be moving forward into the coming fiscal year for completion or to make significant progress towards completion. You'll see on this table that we categorize all of our projects into different categories of athletic facility replacements, building replacement and improvement, park and trail replacement and improvement, and we also have advisory committee facility project funding and ADA project funding. So I wanted to share a little bit of information about those projects that make up the $9+ million in the carry forward. And they are large projects for us that are really being driven by other bodies. And so the one at the top is that community project grant. This is funding we received with the help of Congresswoman Bonamici, who was able to funnel almost $1 million to us to do a variety of air filtration, heating and cooling improvements, some seismic and solar studies, and then some technology upgrades in our parks around the district using those funds. And there was a little concern a couple of months back on whether those funds would make it to us. But we did at our last board meeting sign off on an agreement to help facilitate that transfer of funds. We've not jumped in to the projects yet. We wanted to ensure that we would be able to be reimbursed for those expenses. And so that is going to start moving forward in earnest now. We also have a category, a line item of fire life safety modernization. We have aging fire systems around the district. And one of the things that changes is they used to be all hardwired with telephone lines, and telephone lines, landlines, that has changed. There's no longer a whole lot of maintenance for those lines. And so we've had to make some switches to a cellular-based system so that our buildings can talk with the important people that would save those buildings in the case of any issues. So we have a number of projects that are identified there. We're making all the critical changes that we need to make right now, but we have some time to prioritize that. And so we're pushing a pretty big chunk of those funds forward. And it also allows us to look at what sort of upgrades we may need in that new facility should that project close. There's another category of grant-funded projects that also they take their time and they come to us when they come to us. And so those projects are ones that will kick off next year. So we want to make sure that the funding is pushed forward to next fiscal to take that on. Paving projects seem to always be something we carry forward because if you don't hit like a particular window in the summer months, you don't have great conditions for paving. And so we kind of dialed back the new paving projects we would do next year so that we can get all these ones that are going to be moving forward, and we'll just start on a better schedule and hit it during those appropriate months for repaving. And land acquisition, because we put money into our budget, money particularly from our system development charges to do land acquisition, but we have to wait until there's a willing seller. And so we're pushing those funds forward so that we can hopefully complete some of those deals as things move forward. There's a little bit of a lag there. Okay, so I wanted to just give you some examples of the projects that you would find in our budget. So this is in the CP section. It's one of the tabs towards the back of the book where we outline all of the different projects that make up our capital program. In that athletic facility replacement category, we have some not so great looking fences and screens out there, wind screens on tennis courts that need replacing. And so that's what we see in this category. But it also has our air structure repairs, which is an annual line item for our air structures at the Babette Horenstein Tennis Center. You take those things down and you put them back up. Twice a year, you're going to have some wear and tear on those. And so we always want to capture that. We also have some lighting replacements that are taking place at our main complex, HMT, the PCC complex, and our Sunset Sports Complex. In our building improvements category, this is one that I wanted to share with you. This is the building that we're talking about that we are hopeful will one day be the future home of THPRD. And in order for that to work, there's an acquisition piece, and then there is also a what do we need to make this facility ours? And what we would need at this space is a creation of a fleet space, a secured fleet parking area like we have at our Fano Creek Service Center, where we can park all of our vehicles, all of our equipment, and they can be in a safe location. We'd also need to recreate a maintenance bay, several maintenance bays, which is where we take care of all the vehicles and equipment that we use. So this line item in the capital program includes those costs to make the improvements so that we can move our folks over. You gotta have a Wi-Fi, you gotta have functioning toilets, all those things. And so those are the costs that are associated there. There's one note that I wanted to make, and that it was in the budget wherein we have the allocation to, or the appropriation to purchase this building. And that was put there based on the assumption we would close by June 30. There is a possibility that we will need additional time for that. And if that's the case, we will likely be bringing to you at your May meeting some updated numbers to reflect that carry forward of the acquisition funds to next year's fiscal that you could consider and potentially approve at that meeting. So just a heads up that that might be on its way. In building replacements, this is a big category because we have a big system. And so this covers a huge variety of items, and it can be pumps and motors and boilers. It can be our annual fitness equipment replacement plan. It can be doors, and it can be pool resurfacing and deck resurfacing, reconstruction. So within this category, we have a lot of those going on. And let's see, a few that aren't on the slide here, but we have a small elevator, like a lift elevator at our Jenkins Estate Sables. That's something that needs replacement. And with the wonderful programming that Julie's team is doing out at that site, we want to make sure that everyone who wants to be there can get there safely. So those are the things that are going on in building replacements. And in the category of park and trail improvements, here's a couple of images of work that we hope to do. There's a lot of bank stabilization. We've got erosion, more and more houses, more and more development, lots more stormwater running into our streams, and the well-loved spaces also need a little bit of care along those edges. So we have a few of those projects. We are underway with a bid award for a project down on the Fano Creek Trail near Shoals Ferry. We're going to be doing a crossing, at-grade crossing of Shoals Ferry Road. This was a great project, many years, lottery funds funded, but we worked with a lot of different interagency coordination with our partners at the county and the state and City of Tigard, City of Beaverton, all sorts of folks to make that happen. And some of the things that we've noticed are ways that you can get up to that area might also be challenged by some standing water. So we're hoping to make some revisions by putting down some new asphalt in that area. So that's that lower photo you see there. And aging system. We have a lot of trails, a lot of pathways within parks, and every year we will have asphalt overlay projects and repair projects. So here's just a couple of examples of those. And our ADA improvement program, we have an ADA transition plan, and we have been steadily chipping away at the deficiencies noted in that plan. One of the things that we do in addition is allocate $75,000 each year to improvements to spaces like this, where you're out in the parks and you need better access to sit at a picnic bench or sit at one of these benches, go to the water fountain, for example. And so we've been creating those harder surfaces and replacing the concrete that's out there to better facilitate that access. We have another $75,000 that is dedicated to access improvements, and it might be doorways getting into buildings. So we have indoor and outdoor facility improvements that we make out of this one. And moving into other people's money. This is the Metro Bond category. So these are funds that were appropriated to us through a local share allocation. And this was from the 2019 Parks and Nature Bond that Metro presented to voters. And we have 4 identified projects. The Willow Creek Greenway Boardwalk project is underway. That is the eastern section of that Willow Creek Greenway. We are kicking off development of Saxaka Park, which is in North Bethany. There's a trail alignment on the south side of that park. And so we're funding it partially with Metro Bond, and we also got additional grant funds for that development. We are replacing 2 play structures at 2 of our sites, Bonnie Slope Park and Rock Creek Park, I believe, that is being replaced with accessible nature play. And then we're also looking at the replacement of the bridge and weir at Commonwealth Lake Park, which is a well-loved facility within the district. In our system development charges fund, we have a number of efforts underway there. One of the big allocations, a big chunk of funds out of system development charges is for the West Side Trail Bridge. It's about a $30 million bridge. And we have allocated $7 million of the SDC funds towards that. We have obtained grant funding for another couple of $1 million, and we are actively submitting more grants and making more requests for funding to try and close that gap so that we can build that and complete that West Side Trail link. And then it would be part of a 25-mile long trail network, which is very exciting indeed. We are also working on our Beaverton Creek expansion, that trail, and we've also got a dedicated pickleball facility in our SDC program, and that would be constructed at the HMT complex, and we're excited about the opportunities that that can bring. And then there are one more park development project that we're talking about coming up. This is the future park at Pointer Road. And then land acquisition is, of course, kind of opportunity driven, and we always want to have funds available to purchase those spaces that we know are going to be future parks and trails. And I think this may be my last slide. It's the Bond Capital Projects Fund. So the 2008 bond you've heard about a little bit tonight, we're down to just over the last $1 million of that. And so there's a few things that are underway that we know will need to be closed out. One is our Cedar Hills Park, and there's some right-of-way work that needs to be completed along Walker Road. We have our Raleigh Park Stream Improvements Project. So we daylighted a stream there. We did some enhancement to the edges of that stream. That work is concluding, as is the Bronson Creek Greenway at Laidlaw. So there's a large natural area we got in the northeast quadrant of the district, and we've done some restoration work there. And so we're excited about that concluding. There are funds left in that budget for natural area acquisition, and so we will look for opportunities to use that and close out that bond category. So that concludes the capital section. Are there any questions I can answer?
Question on Metro bond. If I understand correctly, Metro relies on federal fund more than most of other government entities. Could that be a potential impact on our resource? Or
No.
this is committed regardless of how much they get from the federal?
Yeah, that funding is not federal. It was sourced from here in the region. So it was a ballot measure for metro area voters. That money is not going to be affected. Yeah. All right. I will turn this back over to Chair
Yeah.
Edwards.
So we're on agenda item number 7. This is the time that we've set aside on our agenda for public comment. Do we have any requests for public testimony this evening? So for our community members who have signed up for public comment and those listening online, the public comment period is an essential part of local government meetings. All of us on the Budget Committee are grateful for your participation and will take your input into consideration. Each person has 3 minutes to speak, and there's a timer on that corner there. To speak on a topic directly related to the district's proposed budget. Topics not related to the budget are respectfully requested to be deferred to an upcoming THPRD Board of Directors meeting. This is not a time for dialogue, but rather an opportunity for us to listen. And we will ask our general manager or deputy general manager to follow up with you as appropriate. So with that preamble, I'd now like to invite Sydney McReynolds to speak. And when you begin, please state your name and zip code for the record.
Hello. Sydney McReynolds, 97229. Since February, you've highlighted successful volunteer programs in your new equity strategy. However, while your budget includes necessary facility upgrades, it lacks specific details on how your DEIAB goals outlined in page 1 through 12 will be advanced through your programming. With actual details from your inclusion specialists, I actually see some progress in that area for equity and inclusion with recreation. Regarding your new out-of-state partnerships like Growing Up Swimming, wouldn't it be more cost-effective to collaborate with our existing affiliates, maybe the Tualatin Hills Barracudas or the Tualatin Hills Swim Club? Have you really explored all partnerships? Furthermore, the need to outsource successful programming raises questions, especially when coupled with the proposed 9% management pay raises, a figure that seems out of touch with the current economic climate. I also note the removal of internally driven accomplishments tied to affiliate partnerships in the budget compared to previous years. This omission might explain why the proposed 26-27 budget feels inadequate, or excuse me, 25-26 budget. Therefore, as the budget stands, I vote no. Finally, the approved board minutes from February appeared flaws. On page 18 and 19, the detailed accounts of the Tualatin Hills Swim Club members' testimonies have been reduced to mere 2-sentence summaries. Specifically, did June May address another affiliate's concern, or did she raise issues of active board members' conflict of interests? And was Claudia Shivrin's February testimony simply about hoping for swimmers' needs to be met, or did she speak to her experience with the historical lack of access due to systemic racism? Additionally, within your website, you used to post your meeting minutes, and now they have all disappeared, followed by a video. When you talk about access and transparency, it's important to follow suit with the things you're doing and not remove things when people start asking questions or having concerns with the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Jessica, do we have anyone else for? So with that, I'm going to move us, thank you very much. I'm going to move us to agenda item 8, which is Budget Committee open discussion. So I'm going to open the floor to the Budget Committee to discuss items related to the district's proposed fiscal year 25-26 budget. Yes.
Can I give kudos?
Yeah.
Wrap up.
Go for it.
Well, this is my 8th budget year. To see the transformations, the thoughtfulness, how accessible this document is, it's amazing. And as I usually say, it's covered in hearts. So there's little hearts no matter what page you look at. And I think about when, like, years ago we used to do like the big party in the park and how we put like so many resources toward one big event every year, and like it wasn't even attracting our people, right? And so like the thoughtfulness that goes into doing like multiple events in neighborhoods and what it takes for staffing, and just, cliche as it sounds, like this is a reflection of our values, and it's all in here. I love that we put it in writing that we're putting those spots aside for our low income families. Like, we're not hiding that because we're proud of it. So anyways, just here's to all the stuff.
I will echo the comments that Director Monteblanco just shared. And we were kind of having just even a sidebar of just the storytelling alone of the pictures. I think at our last board meeting, we were talking about our equity strategy, and that there's a component of this that is the storytelling. And when you are able to visualize not just the numbers associated with what it takes to do the work, which is what the budget document is, but then you're seeing the examples in real life of what these folks and our patrons are doing and what these events look like. And a picture, right, is worth 1,000 words. And so I know that this is a budget document, but it reads as if it's the greatest hits. And so with that, I mean, there's so much to be proud of, and there's so much good richness here that I think is a testament to the values that are set and how in ways in which the dollars go behind the priorities that the board has set. So thank you to staff. Thank you, Jared. Appreciate this. It's not my number 8, it's number 4, but much easier and understandable and approachable as well. So I didn't interject at every moment as each person was going around, but there are nuggets in every single one, from 30% of our events being co-produced to fitness on wheels, which is like Meals on Wheels, but we're going to seniors. I mean, there's just so much richness in here that I encourage folks. I know that you might hear and think of a budget document as intimidating, but what the dollars represent to the lived experiences of the people in our community and our patrons is just a testament to the district. So tremendous gratitude. Thank you so much for the tremendous work.
Yeah, I also would like to echo that. This is my first year and my first time reading budget document. And I have to say that for me, it's a piece of art. I'm doing budget myself in private corporations, but this is beyond my imagination on how, it's very well presented, very informative. So thank you, Jared. And I just like to share that when I first started reading the document, I had a lot of questions in mind. But then I noticed that when I reached the end, most, if not all of the questions were answered. So it's really like you read our minds those are the questions will be asked. I thank you.
Quick question and then close up. So I think I meant to interject earlier, but my allergies are reflecting the pollen count and my head is like a helium balloon. Just curious about ice storm equipment. Is that kind of part of the kind of park and trail replacements, things like that were damaged during that ice storm, or has that already been done? Are we waiting for insurance things, or where does that kind of? Okay. Okay, so that just falls into our, it becomes part of our. Got you. Okay. Um, yeah, I really appreciate kind of the responsiveness I saw in this to some of the calls for possibly from me for like sponsorship traction. I see it. It's here. It is not, as you said, a giant chunk, but it's a meaningful step forward to show that we're working hard as well. It's not going to replace our fees and anything else, our property taxes, but it's a meaningful step to show that we're not just sitting on our hands as a district. We're trying to find every nook and cranny that we can maximize our share of contributing back to help the community to hopefully in some small but meaningful way lessen the burden. I think from when I think we're those of us either possibly having another term or terming out or in kind of a reflective mood. But when I joined, this district was recovering from a massive cannonball of the pandemic that I was reading this and seeing just where things just fell off the cliff. And so I just think the work to get back to pre-pandemic and then some in most areas is tip of the cap. A lot of hard work and effort, and I know a lot of work still to come. But it's been a very impressive march back to full service, expanding hours again, and things like that. So bravo on that regard, showing the resilience to recover from such a nearly catastrophic event for this organization. So thank you all. And sorry, I also want to thank our board committee members. I'm just always so impressed with your thoughtfulness and your diligence. And I learn a lot from you and your questions and your perspectives. So thank you very much for bringing it to this group.
All right, I'll say something. One of the things that I have really enjoyed about serving on the budget committee is getting a deep understanding of THPRD. It really, you get to see where the rubber meets the road. And I've gotten to see this organization evolve. Like Alfredo, I remember being here during the pandemic, looking at how the organization was scrambling to adapt. And, at the time, there were really smart moves being made to preserve the financial stability around taxpayer dollars and continue to serve the community in an adaptive way. I think there have been a lot of lessons learned where it's clear to me that this is a very resilient and I like the leaning into sustainability in a couple different ways. We really didn't talk at all about the fact that this is the 70th anniversary, which is it's a huge accomplishment. So I just, I think this organization came into being as a result of great community action and continues to be served so well because of great community action, great staff, and a great board. So just playing one little minor role on the budget committee, it's been really a gift to me and helping me also kind of cheerlead for this organization with friends and neighbors. So just a thank you. I know this is a tremendous amount of work and it's so cool to watch how it has evolved over the years. I guess it's me again. Uh, So, the next budget committee date to consider approval of the fiscal year 25-26 budget has been scheduled for Thursday, May 15th at 6 p.m. And will take place virtually. So mark your calendars. And there being no further business this evening, this work session is adjourned.